Whenever a new volume of One Piece drops, they release a trailer for it over on YouTube, and every single time, it's an absolute banger. This time around, we actually got an announcement for the Shamrock voice actor, and it is none other than Kenjiro Suda. Hopefully I pronounced his name right, apologies if I misspoke, but yes, the iconic voice actor, most recently known from JJK as Nanami, is voicing Shanks' brother. And let me tell you, maybe if I can, I'll play a little snippet right here. His voice freaking fits. It makes me want to root for the God Knights even more now than ever. So, now that we know who is going to voice Shamrock, this brings up a question. Back during chapter 907, when we saw a red-haired person talk to the Gorosei, was that Shanks or was it Shamrock? The minute we were introduced to Shamrock, a lot of people said, oh, it's gotta be him, right? It makes the most sense for it to be Shamrock. But now that we have the voice actor, it's like, wait a minute, does this confirm that the person in 907 was indeed Shanks, or did Toei just not know that Shamrock even existed, so they didn't cast anybody different here? And of course, in the anime, that would be a dead giveaway. Imagine that. Imagine we didn't learn that Shamrock existed via the manga, but instead, in the anime, we just get a brand new voice actor out of nowhere, and that would have kind of like spoiled the surprise. There's a lot of debate around this, so I did what I do best. I held a fat poll to see what everybody thought about this situation, and here we have it. 1 day ago is when I posted this, and it already has 10,000 freaking votes. I think out of every poll I have held thus far, this is by far the one that took off the fastest. So, I asked which red hair talked to the Gorosei about a certain pirate. 31%, 3,000 people voted for Shanks. Whereas 7,000 people voted for Shamrock. Hear me out. I personally have no side I'm really rooting for, but the logical side of me is saying that it's going to be Shamrock. And the voice acting thing is simply because Toei had no clue, and it would have just straight up spoiled the surprise. But if I think it's Shamrock, I do have to explain a couple of things. When we get to the scene in the manga, they say, hey, what do you want? Why would you come all this way? And I'm sure we'll get to the comment section and people will bring this up as well. But if this was Shamrock, would he had to have traveled far to get to the Hall of Power? Why would they say this? You know, obviously, if it's Shamrock, he should be a stone throws away. But for Shanks, this fits. Because Shanks is a pirate, right? Marie's Raw isn't exactly close. My argument for this, my rebuttal, as for why this could work with Shamrock, is because we don't really know what the God Knights do half the time. Brother, the Holy Land has been attacked multiple times, and we've had no mention on the God Knights' whereabouts. Even at God Valley, we don't know where these guys are. So there's a chance that maybe Shamrock was on a mission, and he's really far from the Holy Land. It kind of reminds me of Garling during the King Harold flashback, where he was on a mission and it led him to God Valley in the first place. That's how he found out about the Davy clan. That right there does lead me to believe that these God Knights travel around the world on different missions. Maybe Shamrock was simply on a mission away from the Holy Land, so coming back here to the Hall of Power would be a trip. So, the next thing they say is that this is the Reverie. Given your standing, you should have nothing to do with politics. Again, this is a line that I think does fit Shanks and Shamrock. Shanks is a pirate? Yeah, he has no place at the Reverie. He has no place with politics. As far as why this would apply to Shamrock, he's a God Knight. He is a fighter. Hell, even when Garling got promoted to Gorosei, the Gorosei said, hey, Garling, what the hell are you doing here? Until Garling said, hey, I got promoted, and then he threw his feet up. All the Gorosei were shocked. I think there is a line in the sand between the Gorosei and the God Knights. One side is for politics, and then the other side is for straight power. So yeah, Shamrock has nothing to do with politics, just like Shanks. So, as far as saying we only arranged this time on your request, I think this does obviously fit both. I don't have to explain that one. And now for the bottom line, the big line here. The Gorosei say, hey guards, leave us be. Let's hear what he has to say. This person says there's a pirate I need to talk to you about. And this right here, again, works for both characters. If I was going for Shanks, then my argument would be that he wants to talk to the Gorosei about Blackbeard. And you could be wondering, oh, how does Blackbeard fit into this? Well, you gotta remember, this reverie happened before Wano, or at least during Wano, right? After Wano, guess what we saw? We saw Shanks going after Blackbeard. He showed up to Wano saying, oh, I thought I'd run into Teach here. That's weird. He's dodging us. Yes, I think for Shanks, this works really well. Hell, he could even be talking about Luffy, right? The kid in the straw hat, who's essentially the reincarnation of Joy Boy, if you want to say that. And then as far as Shamrock goes, I think it could be the same way, where he wants to talk about either Blackbeard, of course, a Davy Clansman that survived God Valley, the place he was born at, or it could also be about his estranged brother Shanks. Hell, even in the volume 113 teaser trailer, which I should just say 113, Shamrock says, oh, that pirate, he's my estranged little brother. Of course, that is the line he dropped towards Loki, but it's like, well, I mean, it could fit here. Like, hey, there's a pirate I need to talk to you about, my estranged little brother. You know, I want to talk to you about Shanks. What can we do about him, right? I do not think that is out of the realm of possibility. So yes, personally, I lean towards Shamrock because this right here is what truly kicked off the Shanks has a brother theories in the first place. Beforehand, it was Marineford, where the Marines were like, hey, red hair, he was fighting Kaido yesterday. How did he get to Marineford? That is what spawned the theories that Shanks might have a twin brother, but this right here took it to a brand new level. And because of that, I do err towards this being Shamrock more than Shanks. But like I said, I personally have no real dog in the fight. I'm okay with either one being the candidate, but I just feel like Shamrock makes the most sense because like the hood, right? Even look at the hood. People are saying, oh, like why would Shamrock have to hide his identity? I mean, brother, Garling was a celebrity, right? Garling executing Mjolnir, he had a bunch of fangirls cheering him on. I doubt Shamrock wants that. Well, maybe he does. We don't know too much about him yet, but maybe he just wants to hide his identity because this is a secret meeting. He doesn't want attention drawn to him. And of course, he has this exact cloak in Elbaf. When he arrives, he shows up in pretty much this. Shanks, does he even own a black cloak? So now, on to the comment section for the poll. Mainly because it's cool to see what everybody's saying, and two, because I am open to having my mind changed if we hear a pretty good argument. This says, I think, personally, this is a double fake-out type of situation, where Oda assumes everyone will say it's Shamrock upon the Shamrock reveal, but it was actually Shanks. Their dialogue and the way the Gorosei acted, like it was unusual for him to be there, makes me think it was Shanks. Shanks would still have a reason to sneak in and cover his identity, and it just doesn't seem like Shamrock would. And with Shanks being portrayed as a diplomatic character, combined with heritage, I feel as though Shanks would still hold some cachet with some of the upper echelon of the WG. And like I said, personally, I could see the dialogue here fitting both characters, but this is a fine take. I really hope, though, by the way, that Oda reveals this to us. Like, hey, like, what was the outcome of this conversation? Because, brother, this was over 200 chapters ago. 907. When did 907 release? Hear me out. Okay, so I'm looking at it right here. 907 released June 11th of 2018. Bro, that was 7 years ago. 7 years. Like, that's one of those things where I'm like, okay, yes, I get the whole Shanks double fake out thing, but I'm gonna tell you right now, this has been a mystery for a long time. So 7 years waiting for the Shamrock reveal, I feel like it could just be him. Like, Oda was building up that mystery, but double fake out, like I said, not bad. Ever since the Shamrock voice actor appeared, some people have said that in the anime scene where Shanks meets the Gorosei, the voice used was the original actors. Because of that, they conclude that the one meeting the five elders must be Shanks. But if you think about it the other way around, if they used the new voice actor in that scene, wouldn't that have revealed right from the start that this was the second Shanks? That would have spoiled the mystery from the very beginning. I still think the person is Shamrock. That's how I feel. I feel like Oda would not want this mystery revealed in the anime. Like, let me see. What episode was this? Okay, so I'm looking at it right now. This was in episode 887 that released June 2nd, 2019. Imagine that. We get the Shamrock reveal 6 years before we actually get it said to us in the manga. That is why I do, like, play devil's advocate here, saying, yeah, like, I don't think Toei knew. I do not think Oda wanted Toei to do that. I think this could still be a valid theory here. People miss the days of calling Shanks a rat so much that even with the whole new character to prove his innocence is shown, they still want him to be a traitor. Hey, guys, I love agenda piece. I really do. Shanks being called a rat, even though I don't agree with that, it's hilarious, you know? People are talking about, oh, if Shanks has a yokai form, it's a demon rat. It's like, that's funny, dude. It's so funny. But yeah, like, I think there are valid reasons why Shanks would go to the Gorosei. Like, Blackbeard is a threat. And before we got the whole, you know, Shamrock reveal, Blackbeard being the pirate he wanted to talk about was a very valid theory. Because hell, before he talked to the Gorosei, guess who else Shanks talked to about Blackbeard? Whitebeard! Shanks is going around saying, hey, don't mess with this guy's dangerous! Like, it is in line with Shanks' character, and, you know, like the first comment said, Shanks is a very diplomatic guy. So, he's like, hey, like, you know, Blackbeard, he does oppose the WG, but he also isn't a great pirate either. Like, maybe there's a middle ground we can find here, and we can all, like, work together to take him down. I don't think that'll be super crazy. Why would Shamrock need to wear a hood to hide himself just to have a conversation with the Gorosei? Like I said, maybe it's popularity. Maybe he doesn't want to be seen here. Or perhaps Shamrock's existence is kept a secret because he looks so identical to Shanks. Like, when you think about it, right? If people knew about Shamrock, would they not look at Shanks and say, hey, doesn't this guy, this emperor, doesn't he look like a celestial dragon? Maybe Shamrock's identity is kept a secret because of that. They don't want people to correlate a infamous pirate to a godlike saint celestial dragon. That could be it. And of course, if we wanted to be meta, we could just say that Oda wanted to keep this a secret. Like, it's the whole thing about, like, oh, like, why did Oda not show us the other side of his face? Is it because he's hiding the scar? Or is there no scar at all, right? It's one of those things. Even in Elbaf, this is the same shot that Oda drew Shamrock in when they first arrived at the castle. Didn't show us the scar, and also had the hood on. And then when they took the hood off, that's when we realized it was a completely different person. This comment says, Oda loves doing the unexpected. So after revealing Shamrock, I think it would still be Shanks. That would be funny. Like I said, that would be funny. And the thing with Shanks too is that we do know that he has access to the Holy Land. He went there in the past. He was there with King Harold. So yeah, I think if Shanks really wanted an audience, he could get one. 100%. My theory is that it was Shanks telling the 5 elders about Blackbeard, similar to when he told Whitebeard. However, it was a threat and not a Shanks is a rat theory, and not on friendly terms. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I mean, I feel the exact same way. Like, the Shanks rat thing, like I said, hilarious. I love agenda piece when it's all for a good laugh. Like the whole thing about Law making up his backstory so people would feel bad. That has me cackling every single time. Right now, my fixation is, do you really believe Oda is a reliable narrator? Do you believe Oda's headcanon? That's so funny, dude. Like, imagine arguing with somebody saying, oh, like, this is my theory, and, you know, we saw Rocks go down. He was possessed by Emu. And then somebody says, oh, really? What's your source? The latest chapter? You really believe Oda? That kills me, dude. That takes me out. This one says, honestly, when Shamrock was introduced, still didn't let go of the possibility of Shanks still being the one that talked to the Gorosei. I believe Shanks told them about Blackbeard and the lineage of Davy. Yeah, and Shanks would have some beans to spill about Blackbeard, because right now he still has some weird unknown power we do not know about. I mean, hell, he scarred Shanks with this weird 3-claw thing. Maybe it's a hidden power that Shanks wanted to tell the Gorosei about, like, hey, beware of this guy, he's dangerous. That's why Saturn was informed about his lineage in Egghead, but they still made him a warlord pre-time skip. This one says, he is also the Seto Kaiba voice actor. He is. Yeah, I heard the trailer and I was like, yo, Seto Kaiba in the building, man. Like I said, dude, the voice acting is so phenomenal. I love this. I will admit, the teaser trailer is definitely clickbait, mainly because Shamrock spends no time in Elbaf. The trailer has Shamrock saying, oh yeah, Elbaf? We're gonna make those giants heel to the world government. Let's play a game. And then in the manga, because we're all cut up, we know that Shamrock says that, and then he goes home. Bro, what? Imagine you're not cut up to One Piece, and you see that teaser trailer, and you're like, oh my god, I need to pick it up again. I gotta see what happens. And then Shamrock shows up, and then he leaves almost immediately. Holy blue ball, Oda. My goodness. Dude, he knows what he's doing. Also, it's really funny too, by the way. To anybody who doesn't read One Piece, this is like a major spoiler, brother. I saw that in Japan, they were putting posters up of Shamrock to promote the newest volume. And if anybody were to look at that poster and say, oh, like, Shanks looks really weird. I never read One Piece, or, you know, I'm not caught up. Yeah, why is Shanks being promoted here? Is it all about him? What's funny is that the text right beside Shamrock says, this is not Shanks. So you know it's a twin brother right away. The spoilers go crazy in Japan, and I love it. It's kind of like when Gear 5th was introduced in the manga. I shit you not. 2 weeks later, Gear 5th, Gear 5th, Gear 5th posters everywhere in Japan. Yeah, they do not care, man. It's hilarious. This one says, I think it's the old double plot twist where it was Shanks the entire time talking about Blackbeard. The Gorosei said, why would you come all this way? I don't see why it would be Shamrock if he lives down the road. Like I said, it could just be because the God Knights go on missions. Like Garling, he was gone for a while and then he came back and he's like, hey, you know, I stopped by a certain village for a while. Had enough time to create Shanks and Shamrock. Let me tell you about the Davy clan. We do not know what the God Knights do on a daily basis. Sure, I bet most of them do stay in the Holy Land, but I wouldn't be shocked if many of them do go on missions around the world. Which, if they do, I would love to hear what they're actually doing out there. Like, are they scouting new countries to join the WG? Are they fighting anybody? Are they buying slaves? Like, Oda, I really want him to flesh these guys out some more. You know, my agenda for God Knights aside, I do think we need it for lore purposes. Like, where the hell were these guys like 99% of the series? So, on to the second poll. We kind of talked about this one to hell and back. Like I said, I still think it could be either candidate. I am leaning towards Shamrock, though. This just feels like the easy alley-oop. So, next poll. Will Shanks get killed by the end of the story? I just felt like this was an appropriate one to ask because of this poll. But yeah, this was something that was heavily talked about ever since he was first introduced. Can you see Shanks surviving until the end of the series? Or no, will somebody kill him or cut his head off? 25% of people say yes, he does survive the series. Of course, if he dies to old age, that's very different. You know, if we get like a time skip and Shanks is like, oh, he passed away due to cancer, that's okay. Does not count. That means he survived, right? If he lived to an old age and died on his own terms, perfect. But 75% of people on this poll voted nope, somebody will kill him. Brother, ever since he was first introduced, people are dropping theories left and right on who would take him down. And Blackbeard has been the candidate every single time. Crazy. Ever since the Shanks and Blackbeard meeting, it's like, oh, if Shanks die, it's probably going to be because of Blackbeard. And then we have the whole lore about, Tyr, I believe, the Norse god, and how he also dies, and he's like a red-haired guy with one arm. They're like, oh my god, it's Shanks' Norse mythology parallel, and he's dead. Blackbeard's gonna do it. Yeah, nothing looks good for him, in my opinion. I think he will die. People are gonna hate this, but my headcanon, you know, my playing of events is that he will die before Luffy is able to give the hat back to him. I do not think that's gonna happen. I think they'll meet up again, but I don't think they'll ever get to the point where Luffy's like, hey, Shanks, here you go. Because let's be real, if Luffy loses the hat, are they even the Straw Hat Pirates anymore? Will they have to rebrand? That is an honest-to-God question. And I think it would be, like, really tragic, but fun, if somebody cuts Shanks' head off and then tosses it at Luffy, saying, hey, give the hat back now, Straw Hat. Cinema. Cinema. I guarantee you a lot of people do not want that to happen, but let's be real here, man. I feel like Shanks has so many death flags. Child of Destiny? Yeah, he's gonna die. Is Oda really a reliable narrator here? As far as like how he dies, I think a lot of people are more or less in agreement that he's probably going to get snuck by Blackbeard. Like maybe he fights Shamrock, or maybe he fights Garling or Emu, and he's doing really well. You know, he's beating some booty cheeks. And then, at the 11th hour, kind of like Whitebeard, Blackbeard shows up at the very end to land the final blow. Or maybe it's another Ace situation where Luffy's fighting somebody, and then he's distracted for a minute, and somebody's about to stab him from behind, and then here comes Shanks to save the day. Like, Shanks is gonna have a tragic death if he gets one. I can feel the heartbreak from a mile away. So, yes. Into the comment section, let's see what people have to say. Again, the Shanks polls, man, look at this. 5,000 votes in 5 hours? Now I see why Film Red sold so well. You just have to put Shanks' name up here, and apparently everybody and their mother just shows up. That's crazy. Let's go and see what people are talking about. This says he already has one arm in the grave. Okay, that's clever. I like that. Can't have a guy that strong and motivated just hanging around. That is true. I don't know. It could happen though, right? Mainly because Shanks is very nonchalant. You know, he's a chill guy. 90% of the series is just him hanging out. Only here in the final saga has he actually proclaimed that he wanted to get the One Piece, which could be, again, a death flag for him. But yeah. He would be killed on screen, followed by a very emotional scene. But once all the battles have finished, we would find out he survives, as Oda has done many times. That could be it. But I think Oda knows, like, if he, you know, makes Shanks survive, people are going to be like, wait, what? Really? We went through all that and he's still alive? Yeah, it could just be another Ace situation. Like, think about post-time skip. We haven't had any major deaths that we all care about and we're sobbing for, right? People have died. Like, Pedro died, Ashura Doji died, Izo died, King Cobra's dead. But so far, I'd argue that none of those characters have a grand following like Shanks or Ace or Whitebeard. Like, those are different levels of death. Narratively, I feel like we're leading up to Blackbeard taking him out sadly, which is very odd, by the way. I do think Blackbeard would be the one to do it, but considering the notion, the theory, that Shanks doesn't like the world government and is possibly working against them, why would Blackbeard kill him? Maybe just like a revenge thing for what happened to his homeland. Like, oh, your father was the one who figured out about the David clan, so I want revenge. If your father never came to the island, Shanks, my mom, my dad, they'd all still be alive. Granted, I hesitated at saying mom because we don't know what's up with Eris, but yeah, maybe he blames Shanks for that. And it kind of goes back to Whitebeard in his teachings, right? You shouldn't hold a father's sins on the child. Blackbeard is kind of the opposite, you know? I wouldn't be shocked if he's like, hey, Shanks, F you because of your father. That is why I gave you that scar. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. The F you means someone. That man is Marshall D. Teach's victim. Hey, that's fair. I just put someone to, like, cover all the bases, brother. You know, it could be Shamrock. Copium. Could be Shamrock. You know, could be Emu. Could be Garling. There are candidates out there. There are. He is going to sacrifice himself for Luffy in some way. It's going to be where Luffy can see it. Yeah, I agree. If Shanks dies, it's going to be in Luffy's close proximity. Because let me tell you, the scene where Luffy can't return the hat, cinema. I really look forward to that if it happens. I feel like he kind of has to raise the stakes. But it really does depend on what direction Oda wants to go with the story. Also, it would affect Buggy and Luffy quite a bit. That is true. Oh, you bring up Buggy here. I like that. You're right. Buggy loves Shanks. Buggy wanted Shanks to become the Pirate King. If Shanks dies, dude, imagine the lock-in we would get from Buggy. The clown's not laughing anymore. Ooh. Could get their teams to work together, or at least the two of them, to focus on a common enemy. We all joke, Buggy is just nobody from the West Blue, but the guy gets things done right when he's motivated. He just needs a little training to get back into shape. I think he needs a lot more than a little training. But yes, I do think if Buggy was determined, it would be because of Shanks' death. I do think this would really affect him, like no other. I used to believe Blackbeard would kill him, but now, with how so far ahead Shanks is in terms of power dash formidability, along with the sudden ominous personality reveal, I think it's going to end up the other way around. Knowing Oda, he usually takes the unpredictable route. I can picture Luffy defeating Blackbeard but refusing to take his life. That's when Shanks swoops in and ends Teaches with the gun in front of Luffy, shocking him. Then saying to Luffy the same thing in Chapter 1, we're not Saints, Luffy, we're pirates, this isn't a game. Maybe. I mean, okay, you're mentioning Shanks' power, but it's like Blackbeard has power too. And also, he has like an ominous personality that we do not really know about. I do think it would be a nice twist if Shanks is the one that kills Blackbeard. It's tough. Maybe I should ask that question next. That's like the next poll, right? Who fights the Blackbeard pirates? The Shanks crew or Luffy's gang? Because Marineford, man, they kind of hyped me up with the whole Shanks and Blackbeard standoff. But everybody also likes the Blackbeard-Luffy standoff too. You know, they're going 1-to-1 with pirate crews, man. As long as they confirm Makino's baby is his son, I'd be okay with him not surviving the series. That is true, by the way. This is a big thing. This is a very big thing. We do not know who the father of Makino's baby is. And, of course, before this, or I think after this, shortly after, We saw Shanks celebrating a wedding, so it's like, wait a minute. Like, was Shanks the baby daddy? Like, what's going on here? And of course, Makino on screen has only really had the hots for Shanks. And when we see Makino, there's no guy present. So Shanks being the father, I do not think is a bad theory. And if he died, of course, boom, he already has a son, so kind of okay. 74% of the people have forgotten A, Chapter 1, and B, this is not Attack on Titan. Chapter 1, I'm assuming, is the Hat Promise, which promises are made to be broken, to be fair. Promises aren't always kept. As far as this not being Attack on Titan, I mean, yeah, it's not Attack on Titan, but people still die in One Piece, brother. I know it's a meme that nobody dies in One Piece, but people do die. You know, it wouldn't be shocking if Shanks died, I think. I'm fine with Blackbeard killing Shanks, but it has to be on screen or else I would hate it too. There's no way. Oda loves Shanks. Dude, Japan would riot if Shanks died off screen. No, that's not happening. And if he did die off screen, he would go back and show it. 100%. Blackbeard's coming for the other arm. Neither he dies from eating bad shrimp. The narrative that's unfolding would lead you to believe he's going to die. However, until we learn why he's the child of destiny and what Blackbeard and Shanks' beef is, beyond the fact that Blackbeard left a scar on Shanks' face, I won't believe that he dies. I don't think Buggy will die, because he has room to develop. He's going to live out life thinking highly of Luffy and Shanks for sure. Wait, what? Buggy? Where do you get Buggy from? Blackbeard's actively looking for power-up. He is also supposed to confront Mu, who soloed every old gen combined. Shanks locates Blackbeard to avoid him. Easy kill for the destined king of the world. My heart says he survives, but my brain tells me he's probably going to die for Luffy's character development. Yeah, Luffy's character development would go crazy. Just, hey, we're killing Shanks to make Luffy grow up a little bit. We're going to give Luffy a reason to really hate the world government and Blackbeard. He already hated them already. But let me tell you, we can take it to the next freaking level. But yeah, that is it for today, guys. I just wanted to go through these quick Shanks polls, give the 401 on the Shamrock voice actor and all that good stuff. Let me know what you thought about these polls down below. And I'll catch you guys in the next chapter of One Piece. Peace out, stay safe, and take care.